guys and gals, never here from Drake Wayne Gaming. It's something me on Twitter, The Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Minotaur Hotel. So let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. Alright. Will you stop that? What's the matter now? Don't like my whistling? To be frank. To be frank, it sounds like someone is strangling a cat. Rude. I ain't scared, you know. I mean, what's there to be scared of? It's just a creepy basement, in a freaky magic hotel. Yes, nothing to be scared of at all. Can you let go of my arm? I think I'm starting to lose circulation. Oh, sorry. Luke's hand jerks away, rising up with palms out while he gives Kota a sheepish grin. The two continue down the passageway, and while neither acknowledges it, their shoulders continue to brush together as if confirming the other's presence. And then they turn one last corner and stand on the threshold of their destination. Back when he, Angus, and the others were down there trying to get the Wi-Fi working, Luke had been able to distract himself from the oppressive wrongness that filled the room. But now there's no one to serve lunch to, no fine-ass men to ogle while they grunt and sweat and bend over, and the feeling brushes the nape of his neck and slides like an icicle down his back. After you. No, please, I insist. After you. Nah, it's fine. Ladies first, right? Truly, I beg your pardon. On three? That would be acceptable. Alright, here goes. 1, 2, 3. With a deep breath hissing through his clenched teeth, the dragon rushes forward into the room. He pauses, waiting, and then a soft giggle from behind causes him to blink. He looks back to the room's entrance and catches Luke trying and failing to stifle another burst of laughter. That wasn't funny. Come on, it was a little bit funny. Kota lets out a heavy sigh and crosses his arms. As he tries to huff and glare at his erstwhile companion, the corners of his mouth twitch upward. Perhaps it was just a little bit funny. Well then, if you're quite finished playing around. Yeah. The griffin moves toward one of the tables and starts searching through the stack of documents. Alexios said those should be over here, right? That's correct. Kota watches Luke rifle through the papers, wincing as a few drop off the table to scatter on the floor. While the griffin makes a mess of Asterian's handiwork, the dragon's gaze begins to wander. To the wall of obsidian filling half the room. To the bottomless basin at the center of the massive chamber. To the piled-up instruments along one wall, and then to the folders lined up on another nearby table. Contracts. Kota isn't sure at first what draws him to approach and begin flipping through those folders, but as he hums to himself, he searches out names, descriptions, anything that might spark a single hint of familiarity. When he had asked Alexios and Asterian, they both said that they didn't know of any guests like the man he was searching for. It wasn't like he didn't believe them, but perhaps... Perhaps it was further in the past than Asterian's family could remember. Perhaps Alexios, being new and inexperienced, wouldn't even know where to look in the records. Perhaps it wasn't the Red Dragon, but one of the names Kota had sought out when his journey first began hiding somewhere within those pages. Perhaps... It was less than unlikely, but the mere possibility was like an insistent itch, and Kota had long ago lost the ability to resist scratching. Wait a moment. Ah! The piercing shriek derails Kota's train of thought, and then something warm, feathery, and smelling of bacon grease and musk slams into his side and wraps its arms tight around him. Gah! Luke, what are you? Let go of me! There's something over there! The dragon's eyes follow Luke's trembling fingers towards a nearby pile of junk. He's about to speak when the sound of pattering feet cuts him off. A shadow moves behind one of the tables. Something breathes in the heavy silence. Kota looks at Luke. Luke looks at Kota. Well, come on then. Let us see what it is. Kota edges toward the source of those sounds. Luke, meanwhile, takes a moment to grab a heavy paperweight before following. Slow, careful, quiet. The edge towards whatever is in there and with them. Luke looks at Kota. Kota looks at Luke. The dragon nods and the silent count begins. 1, 2, 3. Kota grabs the table and heaves it away from the wall with a loud roar, while Luke surges forward with the predator screech and his weapon held high. Hey-ya! Eep! What the fuck? Is that a kobold? The little creature flinches and screams. No, it's got to be a creature from, I guess, Greek mythology. The little creature flinches and screams as its hiding place is yanked away. With a yelp of fear, it tries to scrabble back into the shelter of the table. Get away! Something slams into Luke's back, wrapping thin arms around the griffin's neck with a high-pitched war cry. And the pile of junk erupts. Another little creature flings itself at Kota. Pandemonium fills the room, grunting and screaming, scratching and scrabbling. Kota stumbles and trips over a thin-limbed body, and Luke staggers and grunts with every blow of tiny fists on the crown of his head. But while the two were surprised by their assailants, they are both larger and stronger. Luke reaches to grab the thing clinging to his back, and even as the creature snaps and snarls and squirms in his grip, the griffin manages to pull it off. Kota, meanwhile, rolls on the ground to grab the cowering little thing that tripped him up in the crook of one arm. The creature that slammed into the dragon's side tries to scamper away, but despite his size, Kota is swift. He surges like a tide to engulf the fleeing foe. The pair finally stand, bruised and mussed but victorious. Their wriggling opponent let out shrill squeaks of panic as they're carried over and set down near the obsidian wall. When the little creatures look around for an escape route and see the dragon and griffin boxing them in, they wail and huddle together while cowering on the floor. A second, y'all. Water time. Guys and gals, we are back. Let's jump right back in, shall we? Alright. Let us go! We didn't mean it! Please, don't hurt us! The dragon and griffin stare down at the diminutive reptilian beings. Luke takes in the scraps of clothing the trio are wearing, scavenged no doubt, while Kota tuts at the sight of their pallid scales and sunken features. It's the griffin who finally sighs and crouches down to edge closer to the shaking lizards. Hey, relax, little guys. We ain't gonna hurt ya. Kota grumbles but nods as he brushes himself off and straightens his clothing. The griffin, meanwhile, extends one of his hands towards the lizard trio. They flinch and whimper, but don't move away as he places his palm atop the middle one's head. There we go, you see? Poor little guys. You ain't nothing but skin and bones. As the griffin's hand pets and strokes the lizards in turn, their stiff bodies relax and stop trembling. Hey, now that I think of it, you're probably the critter stealing stuff from the kitchen, ain't you? A guilty squeak escapes the chubby lizard. We had to. It's been so long since we saw so much food. We've been starving so long, and we won't do it again, honest. Just let us go and... Whoa, now, I ain't one to let someone in need go hungry. You come along with me, and I'll get those bellies full up faster than a bucket in hurricane season. Really? At least the trio looks up at the griffin. At last the trio looks up at the griffin, trying to gauge the sincerity of his words. The prospect of food they don't even have to steal, seems to calm them down almost as much as Luke's scritching fingers. Luke glances over to Kota. A sheepish expression crosses his face, and he's quick to clear his throat and drop his gaze in embarrassment. So, what are these guys? I believe I have an idea. Regardless, they aren't a threat. In fact, it seems that they are in as much need for shelter as any other guest of the hotel. Yeah. In that case, guess we should tell Alexios and Asterion about them. At the mention of the Minotaur's name, Kota's gaze drops to the floor. Indeed. What's wrong now, Blue Boy? It's nothing, although... Kota returns to the table on the other side of the room, picking up the file folder he'd been flipping through before the interruption. Would you mind confirming something for me, Mr. Walker? He holds the folder out to the griffin. Sure. What you need now? Just read and I think you'll understand. Alright? When the dragon hands the documents over, Luke begins to flip through them. Huh? What the hell is this? Finding a lack of the coveted leftovers, a man must rise up to the challenge. After a makeshift snack for you and Asterion, you start work on the most divine of all foods, bread. Graze your fingers over a heaping cup of flour to rid it of the excess. Less than a spoonful of salt, water, and yeast mixed together to bring it back to life. Each ingredient in its rightful quantity and proper place. Mix it all, first in even lumps, then half-mixed strings, sticky enough to form a web from index to thumb, firm enough to be plucked. Keep mixing, it'll stay between your fingers like a memory of the times when our ancestors had webbed hands. Sweat drips from your forehead. Struggle with a towel to wipe it. Leave a string of dough on it. Wait, let the bread rise. Knead it. Grab its edges and fold it over itself 4, 8, 12, 16 times. Let it sleep inside a basin. It takes a while for the bread to rise enough to push off the lid, but surely enough the time comes. A sharp scent of alcohol shall rise. Knead it. Feel as it resists against your grasp until it's been folded in on itself into a neat, smooth ball almost bursting at the seams. Knead and rest until it's ready, however many times it takes. There's something divine in all the stages of baking, the smoothness of flour, the diminutive heat of activated yeast, the eye-watering scent of alcoholic fermentation. Chief among them is the aroma of bread in the oven and the joy of sharing it. Look up. There's someone on the sofa. Your servant, roommate, business partner, dear guest. A man's mind and the body of a hybrid. There's something divine in the eyes. In yours, in his. In the eyes of mankind and all the beautiful, human-like beasts with which our empire was built. It hasn't been long since you met this man called Asterion, but the cadence of his voice, the reverence in his words, the shifts in his face, by now there may be familiarity. His moods are clearer in your mind's eye. At times you might even find yourself anticipating the next step of his dance. What a pagan ritual this is, cooking for the Minotaur of legend while he broods. His rough fingers graze and tap away at the tablet until he finds an issue he can't resolve. His posture goes rigid, and you know well to check on him. It happens every 20 minutes. It fits well with the doe's rest times. He's quiet now, more than when you left him. Whatever attempt at extracting some truth is met with a disoriented grunt. Give him time. The both of you have it in plenty, after all. Go back to your pagan ritual of kneading dough for the brooding man. Be dutiful. There is something divine at play, in cooking, in mankind's eyes and hands. Should fortune smile, you too will carry this divinity in yourself. Let time pass. Eat and drink. Let the man rest. His heart dances to its own odd rhythm. Is this what you were after, I wonder? Why did you, master of masters, come to this sorry desert? Here the Lord may summon diamonds at his fingertips, but it is not why you were enticed to own this land. Perhaps this is what you were after, a realm where a man may conduct the pagan ritual of finding a kindred spirit. There is something divine in providing grace to an ailing soul, and so you must cook while he rests. You are the master, and for this silent afternoon he is your guest. Slave away at the oven, open the wine, pour its contents in your finest glass. Call the man to feast even if his appetite is lacking. Y'all. We work together, but we have not broken bread together. He eats in silence. You hum and tap your feet to a beat only God knows. You exchange glances and ponder how his eyes always seem too wet. Asterion's nostrils flare as he lets out all the old stagnant air accumulated in his lungs. His shoulders drop as a shiver crawls up his spine, leaving a trail of hairs standing up. His chest thrums a bassy rumble. Hooves scrape against the floor. You feel his voice 5 beats before it arrives. I don't have it in me to pretend anymore. What do you mean? I don't deserve any of this. The Minotaur looks through you, hazy eyes, tired and fearless. I'm afraid I don't get it. He parts his mouth and draws a breath. From your place across the dinner table you can hear a wheezing. He licks his lips, but the tongue is just as dry, cups his hand together and rubs them for warmth. Today his voice is not as high-strung as usual. Each syllable flows without rhythm or dance. I am a wretch, Alexios, born and killed like one, sentenced by the gods for my cowardice. The Minotaur pinches his forearm and twists. He bites his cheek, deforming it inwards, but his jaw grows tense as he tests his own limits. When you left, I read on about me, my own story. Nothing I wasn't aware of, but it was interesting seeing it all laid bare. Would you care to hear it? All of it from the beast itself. The Minotaur draws another struggling breath. He pinches his forearm harder, twists it, and unlocks his throat once more. A drop of sweat runs down his forehead to his chin, then drips to his clothes. His ears and tail flick back and forth, as if hornets were floating around them. Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silverman. Thank you for going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you to our gold tier patron, Trezum Guy. You're awesome. We love it. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our not safe for work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!